Good evening, and we will call to order the Thousand Oaks City Council meeting for Tuesday, October 9th, 2018. If you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, Madam Clerk. Could you call the roll for tonight's meeting, please?
Councilmember Bill De La Pena.
Present.
Councilmember Price.
Here.
Councilmember Adam.
Here.
Councilmember McCoy.
Present.
Mayor Fox.
And I am here. Item 4 is request for continuance of any public hearing or agenda item. Do we have any items that council would like to continue? All right, hearing none, we'll move.
Mayor, we actually have, we're going to adjourn in memory. We're going to move that to reschedule it to the meeting of October 23rd to allow the family to attend.
Okay, very good. That'll be the order with that. We'll move to item 5, that's special presentations. Tonight, we're very fortunate to welcome to the podium Patrick Cassidy, the artistic director of the Thousand Oaks Civic Arts Plaza Resident Musical Theater Production Company, 5 Star Theatricals. Welcome, Patrick. Please tell us about the upcoming production of Shrek the Musical.
Thank you, Mayor Fox, City Council. It is such a pleasure to be here. My name is Patrick Cassidy. I'm the artistic director for 5 Star Theatricals, and entering our 2018-19 season on October 19th through October 28th, we are going to present Shrek the Musical. If you have seen the film, the musical far surpasses that. It is an incredible show for the family. It is funny. It is heartwarming with an incredible score. And today, you can get your tickets at the box office, or you could go to 5startheatricals.com to purchase tickets. But today, we've got a very special thing. Oh, and I don't want to forget, because of Halloween, every child that comes in their Halloween costume will get a Shrek trick-or-treat goodie bag. And 2 of the children, we're going to have green tickets for the ogre for the boys and red tickets for Fiona, Princess Fiona. We're going to put them in a bowl and we're going to draw them at intermission. And 1 boy and 1 girl in costume are going to get to come up on the stage and dance to I'm a Believer with the cast. So that's a special thing we're doing for Halloween. But today, I want to present 3 incredible performers. In this song called I Know It's Today, young Fiona is trapped, imprisoned in the castle, guarded by a fire-breathing dragon, and she ages there as she's going through her fairy tale books to see what princesses become and what they're like. So in this scene, you'll see the young Fiona become the teen Fiona, become Princess Fiona. We have Miss Bailey Tannenbaum as young Fiona, Kate Godfrey as teen Fiona, and Allison Woods as Princess Fiona.
There's a princess in a tower. Oh my gosh, that's just like me. Poor Rapunzel needs a haircut, but the witch won't set her free. She passes time by singing like someone else I know. As years go by, she sits and waits. As years go by, a torturous existence. I don't remember this part. She wishes she were dead. Skip ahead, skip ahead. But in the end, Rapunzel finds a millionaire. The prince is good at climbing and braiding golden hair. So I know he'll appear, 'cause there are rules and there are strictures. I believe the storybooks I read by candlelight, my white knight and his steed will look just like these pictures. It won't be long now, I guarantee. Day number 23. I know it's today. I know it's today. There's a princess in a coma, glad it's her instead of me. Pretty maiden in a glass box. How I wonder, does she pee? Blah, 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 blah. Poison apple, boring, boring, evil queen. Filler, filler, been there, read that. 7 shorties on the scene. Skip ahead, skip ahead. But in the end, the princess wakes up with a start. The prince is good at kissing and melting Snow White's heart. So I know he'll appear and his armor will be blinding, as shining as his perfect teeth and manly hopes. He'll propose on one knee, and our prenup will be binding. About time we set a wedding date. Day number 958. I know it's today. He'll show up today. There's a princess, any princess. Take your pick, they're all like me. Not exactly, I'm still waiting. They're out living happily ever after. Better get here, I want love in seconds flat. No one needs these middle bits. Whoops, did I do that? Cut the villains, cut the vamping, cut this fairy tale, cut the peril and the pitfalls, cut the puppet and the whale, cut the monsters, cut the curses, keep the intro, cut the verses, and the waiting, the waiting, the waiting, the waiting, the waiting. But I know he'll appear, though I seem a bit bipolar. And I'm a vandal now as well. Hope he won't mind. I'm a find. I'm a catch. And a very gifted bowler. It won't be long now, I guarantee. Day number. Are you there, God? It's me, Fiona. It's me, Fiona. Now I know he'll appear, 'cause there are rules and there are strictures. I believe the storybooks I read by candlelight. My white knight and his steed will look just like these pictures. It won't be long now, I guarantee. Day number 23. Day number 8,423. I know it's today. Ooh, I know it's today. Ooh, I know it's today. I know it's today.
Thank you, Mayor Fox. Thank you, City Council. Thank you, ladies.
Let's give a hand to those girls. Great job. Great job.
Mayor Fox.
Councilmember Bill De La Pena.
Thank you. I'd just like to let the audience know here in City Hall and also at home, again, how blessed we are to have a caliber musical theater company here, which is the resident theater company of the City of Thousand Oaks. And please do all you can to support not only five-star theatricals by buying tickets, but also New West Symphony, Pacific Festival Ballet, and many of the other local organizations, arts organizations, which really grace the City of Thousand Oaks. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, great way to start a council meeting, that's for sure. With that, we're going to move to item 6. That's our public comment. Ms. Rodriguez, could you call public comment, please?
This is a time and place for public comments. A speaker card is available for those wishing to address the City Council regarding items on the agenda or on a subject within the city's jurisdiction. All remarks should be addressed to the council as a whole, and all documents for City Council and the official record should be presented to the city clerk prior to speaking. Speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Under state law, public comment matters may not be considered by the council unless listed on the agenda, but may be referred to the city manager for administrative follow-up. 3 individuals have presented cards, and pursuant to council standards, speakers are allowed 3 minutes. The yellow light displays when you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Our first public comment is Carrie Howard, followed by Michelle Ellison. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Mayor, council members, and city staff. My name is Carrie Howard, and I live in Newbury Park. I'm speaking today regarding the abundance of unlawfully placed political signs around our area. If the sign ordinance doesn't discourage illegal political sign placement, it either needs to be abandoned or given some teeth. Having city employees spend huge amounts of time removing, recording the placement of, and returning signs is a poor use of city resources. Those of us supporting candidates that are not putting up illegal signs every Friday and letting them be removed on Monday are being made to feel like chumps. We know that many people say political signs don't work, so don't worry about it, but we do worry about it, and we are asking you for help. And personally, I do not like a blatant mockery of city ordinances. Most residents do not know that there is a sign ordinance, and they could easily assume that those with the best sign placement have the most supporters. That is not true, and it is a disservice to the other candidates to allow that impression to be created. I have heard that there is supposed to be a sign fee charged to pick up illegally planted signs, and I want to know if that is true and how much money is collected and from whom. If that is not happening, then scrap the ordinance or make the sign lawbreakers pay perhaps $5 a pop to get their sign back. Then you can use this money to offset the cost of collection. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Michelle Ellison, followed by Adam Haverstock. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and city staff. I'm Michelle Ellison, a resident of Ojai, and represent Ojai on the Clean Power Alliance board. I'm here this evening to urge you to reconsider your previous renewable energy default selection and increase it to 100%. While the 50% option is certainly better than 36%, it's still only halfway to 100%. You have 3 weeks left to change your selection before the October 31st deadline. As one of the largest participating jurisdictions in CPA, what you decide is of great importance. Setting the default at 100% is one of the most immediate, tangible, and significant ways to drastically cut polluting emissions. It will take Thousand Oaks much more time, effort, and expense to achieve this kind of progress otherwise. Defaults have immense power to affect social outcomes. Research shows that the default choice may turn out to be the most significant decision a private or public institution makes. By setting the default at 100%, you'll get much more participation at that level than if you set it at a lower tier. Most customers will remain at 100%. Likewise, if you set the tier at a lower 36 or 50%, that's mostly what you'll get. Despite our best intentions, few of us would opt up, often just because of inertia or the busyness of life. Industry studies reveal there's overwhelming public support for renewable energy, and people are willing to pay more for it. I've heard from a number of council members in CPA cities that with elections coming up, supporting clean energy is politically popular. Customers want cleaner energy, and they want it now. California passed legislation which targets 100% clean energy by 2045. Now consider this. The 100% default gives cities an opportunity to achieve that goal 25 years ahead of schedule. Simply by setting the default at 100%, communities will be powered by close to that amount as early as the middle of next year when service begins. The projected cost difference for the 100% option is 7 to 9% more than Edison's base rate, but the renewable content is 66% more. That's a very compelling return and a small price to pay for long-term benefits. While there's a slight rate savings of just 0 to 2% in the lower two tiers, they have far less renewable content, so we must consider the cost of externalities like more polluting emissions. The perception of saving $1 or $2 in the short term is a dangerous illusion. And what's noteworthy is that there's a provision allowing low-income customers to participate in the 100% plan at no additional cost in those jurisdictions with a 100% default. The default is not a rate hike, it's not a mandate, it's not forcing anything on anyone. It's simply making a suggestion. Customers have the freedom and ability to choose another plan according to their own priorities. Why would you want to suggest anything other than 100% clean energy for Thousand Oaks? In closing, this is likely one of the biggest impact decisions you will make for your community. Renewable energy is now readily available and affordable. We just need to start choosing it. It'd be fantastic to have Thousand Oaks join the other member agencies doing 100% and help lead the way to a cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Adam Haverstock. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Adam Haverstock. I'm the Director of Government Affairs and Tourism at the Greater Canal Valley Chamber of Commerce with a couple items for you tonight. First, I wanted to mention I'm very excited that we had this special presentation tonight. The Chamber of Commerce is taking a large group of people to go see Shrek the Musical as one of our socials for the year, so we're very excited to do that, and I'm looking forward to it now. I was before, but now I'm really looking forward to it. A couple items for you. First, a couple events. First, I hope everyone has heard about the Chamber's Candidates Forum that's going to be this Thursday. We're hosting it at California Lutheran University in the Lundgren Event Center. It's actually going to be 3 different sessions of forum. The first is going to be for Thousand Oaks City Council at 6 p.m. till 7:30. We're going to have the candidates for Ventura County Community College District trustee from 7:30 to 8, and the candidates for Canejo Valley Unified School District board member from 8 to 9 p.m. And all 3 sessions are going to be moderated by Dr. Herb Gooch, who is the former chair of the Political Science Department at California Lutheran University. So we think it's going to be a great event. We have RSVPs from all of the candidates for all of the forums, and so we think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity to engage on local issues. Oh, I want to mention also, this event is free and open to the public, and there's no RSVP required, so feel free just to come and attend. Second event I want to mention is the Chamber's Taste of Canejo, which is coming up on Friday, November 9th. It's going to be at the Four Seasons Hotel in Westlake Village. It's the largest public event they do at the hotel, and we're going to have food, beer, wine, and spirit tasting at the event. So if you want to come have some fun, you want to support the Chamber of Commerce, feel free to come out, try some local restaurants, try some local breweries. It's a really great time. We have a dedicated website for that event, tasteofcanejo.com, and people can go check that out and buy their tickets and see all the vendors. Third, I wanted to mention the Leadership Canejo program. Our second session is this Friday, and I mention it because the afternoon portion is going to be hosted by the City of Thousand Oaks' Public Works Department. They're going to be putting us on a bus and showing us all sorts of different public works facilities in the city, including the Hill Canyon Wastewater Treatment Facility, which really is a treasure in Thousand Oaks. And they don't know what they're in for yet, but I am very excited for them because they're going to have a wonderful time. And many thanks to Jay Spurgeon and his team who are going to take time out of their Friday to host that. I know it's not easy to take half a day out of the office to do that, and I'm not sure if it's their off day or not, but anyway, we really appreciate their time, so many thanks to them for doing that for us. And finally, a quick update on tourism. I wanted to update you on that RevPAR stat we often talk about that mirrors transient occupancy tax. Year to date, for the end of August, we're up 3.5% over 2017, and we did some forecasting that projects that we'll finish the year 2018 ahead of where we finished the year 2017, which is a really great place to be. So there certainly is demand in the tourism market. I also wanted to mention that we have a partnership with the PGA Tour that's coming to Sherwood Country Club at the end of the month. We have a dedicated marketing campaign in partnership with PGA to market to the Los Angeles region and bring visitors that are golf enthusiasts into the area for that event. And unless there are any questions, that does conclude my report this evening. Thank you for your time.
Okay, Adam, thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Powers, any follow-up comments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a speaker in regards to political signs. Speaker is correct. We do have a sign ordinance. That sign ordinance does apply to all signs, including political signs. During the campaign season, we have specific rules. All candidates are informed of those rules. But I think, as we all know, most of these campaigns are largely supported by volunteers, and it is the candidate's responsibility to educate those volunteers on what is appropriate in terms of sign placement. We do regularly remove signs that are in the public right-of-way. Those are not just campaign signs. They're maybe real estate signs and business sale signs, etc. We do not charge a fee for that. That has not been the council adopted policy. We could theoretically charge a fine or a misdemeanor if there was an interest in changing that policy or practice. But again, would be challenging from an enforcement side. As it relates to the Clean Power Alliance, our representative on that alliance is Councilmember Bill De La Pena, and we have staff support from Helen Cox and Jay Spurgeon, our Public Works Director, and our Manager of Sustainability is Helen Cox. We are aware of the various options, the 36 and the 50 and the 100. Staff at this point has recommended, and Councilmember Bill De La Pena has concurred that our current recommendations, 50%, will certainly continue to look at that over the course of the coming weeks. That's it for my follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Item 7 is the consent calendar. Any items council would like to call special? Ms. Bill De La Pena.
For housekeeping reasons, I'd like to pull 7C.
7C. Anything else? All right. Does somebody want to move the balance of the consent calendar? Mr. Price.
Yes, I would move the balance of the consent calendar.
Mr. Price moves. Any discussion on his motion? Hearing none, prepare the vote, please.
The motion carries 5-0.
And that is approved. Mr. Price, you want to move 7C? I don't think so. I think it's just for housekeeping purposes.
Yes, because I wasn't here when the vote was taken, and so therefore I'll stay.
I will move item 7C as well.
All right. Discussion? Prepare the vote, please.
Councilmember Bill De La Pena, do you want to state your voice vote?
Abstain.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I missed it. Couldn't see. The motion carries 4-0. That's with Councilmember Bill De La Pena abstaining, and I do have an ordinance title to read. It's an ordinance granting to California Water Service Company the right, privilege, and franchise to construct, use, maintain, and operate pipelines and appurtenances for the transmission and distribution of water for any and all purposes in, along, across, upon, and under the public streets and rights of way as the same now or hereafter exists within the city of Thousand Oaks. That's ordinance number 1652 NS.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. We have no public hearing scheduled tonight, so that moves us to item 9. That's department reports. And tonight we're getting public safety updates from police and fire. And with that, let me turn it over to our city manager.
Thank you so much, Mayor Fox. It's really a pleasure to have this item before us this evening. This is something that, as an executive team, and especially with the leadership of our police and fire agencies, that we have long sought to make a regular occurrence here. So we have an update that will be provided from both law enforcement and our fire agencies. I wanted to acknowledge that we do have in the audience with us this evening our Sheriff-elect Bill Ayub is here with us, and Chief of the Ventura County Fire Department, Mark Lorenzen. I'm very appreciative to have both of them take time out of their evenings to be here as part of this presentation. So we're going to get an overview from both Chief Hagel and Chief Speicherman on the police first, and then fire department, and then have ample opportunity for council to ask questions and have a little bit of dialogue with these two professionals for our local public safety agency. So I'll hand it over to you, Chief Hagel.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Thank you, City Manager Powers, Mayor Fox, and City Council. I'm incredibly proud to be the police chief of the city of Thousand Oaks, the town that I was born and raised in. And I take that seriously every day. As you recognized our Sheriff-elect, Assistant Sheriff Bill Ayub, I've had many greats ahead of me. He was the Assistant Chief of Police of Thousand Oaks, and the list goes on and on over the years. To Assistant Sheriff Ayub's right is the current Assistant Chief of Police, Don Aguilar. Don, if you could raise your hand up so everybody could see you. Again, we're pleased to have the opportunity to be here tonight to talk about what is a clear priority. Since 1964, the Ventura County Sheriff's Office has provided police services to the residents of the Canejo Valley. Protecting our community are currently 93 sworn officers, 15 professional staff, and 159 volunteers, all dedicated to providing a quality public safety. As a public safety organization, it is important to know that we meet the needs of the community. Let's take a look at that. Every 2 years, the residents participate in a community survey where the police and fire rank consistently as the top priorities of the community. The Council has, in the past, and continues to recognize its importance through their constant support of our community's public safety. As a result, we are one of the safest communities in California and the United States. Your police officers continue to strive to make our community even safer. It's a combination of strategic investments in social programming, leveraging technology, intelligence-led policing, and a strong community presence that supports the numbers you see above. As you can see, we are down in almost every crime category with the exception of commercial burglaries. During 2017 and 18, we placed an emphasis on the rise of residential burglaries, which we knew were being committed by criminal groups coming in daily from Los Angeles. We were successful. We cracked down on these residential burglaries, and our priority is now to shift the focus to commercial burglaries and organized retail theft by working with local businesses and the community on preventative strategies to protect their assets of the businesses. In addition, we are working with key partners such as Los Angeles County Sheriffs to our east by participating in their organized retail theft task force. Not only have we made the strides in reducing crime, but we've improved our emergency response times. This is the average amount of time from when a 911 operator receives a citizen's phone call for help to the time that one of your Thousand Oaks police officers arrives on scene. I'm proud of this statistic. As you can see, we've been progressively reducing our response times as we respond over the 385 miles of roadways in our community. You're probably asking, how are we doing this? Why are we bringing this down? Through an organized effort in introducing technology in conjunction with Public Works and the fire department, we have all together collectively installed state-of-the-art traffic control systems that increase public and officer safety while improving the emergency response times. The fire chief will talk more about that later. Year to date, we have responded to 22,953 calls for service. Let's take a look at what we're responding to. As you take a look at this wheel graph of crimes by category in our community here in Thousand Oaks, probably the best to take note at is that 91% of all of the crime in our community is property related. What are we doing to prevent and mitigate the property thefts? As you recall in my earlier slide, property crime is down 7% this year, and residential burglaries are down by 25%. Those numbers are a direct reflection of our intelligence-led policing efforts, which include our directed enforcement unit, community outreach, and collaboration, while all using technology and social media. We have a dedicated officer in our intelligence-led policing unit that leads the vanguard with Nextdoor, Twitter, and Facebook, communicating daily with citizens while maximizing and prioritizing our resources. In any city, public safety tends to be the #1 cost. Let's take a peek at where the dollars are spent. As you look at these numbers right now is the breakdown of the policing costs of a sum of just over $28 million per year to provide public safety. When you take a peek at these numbers, view them in the context of what it costs per Thousand Oaks resident. That is called per capita cost of overall delivery of services. In Thousand Oaks, we spend approximately $232 per year per resident. This is far less than the county-wide average for all 10 cities, which is $277 per resident per capita. We're spending less taxpayer dollars and providing the highest level of service, leading year to year as being one of the safest communities in California. We can't do it alone. We constantly have new current affairs and trends going on, and one of the biggest things that's involved in keeping our high quality of life in this city is our community service. Looking at California as a whole, one of the most significant issues facing our state is homelessness. Thousand Oaks Police Department is working in partnership with our faith-based organizations, the Ventura County Continuum of Care, LSS, and other local nonprofits to collaborate on the regional responses to homelessness. As you're aware, the City Council has identified addressing homelessness as the top priority and in turn formed an ad hoc committee. The Police Department has been working with Councilmember Bill De La Pena and Mayor Pro Tem McCoy and city staff over the last few months. A comprehensive update will be given to the City Council and to the public on the October 23rd regular scheduled meeting. Anybody recognize that person? Betty Horner. In 1987, I too started as a volunteer in the city, as a volunteer police officer. And it was apparent to me that the participation in the community and the community helping the police department was important. It was a key thread. The police department cannot meet its goals without the 159 volunteers committed to the mission of public safety in the Canejo Valley. One of our 4 programs has 84 members who are truly a model for community and policing partnerships. Known as Volunteers in Policing, or commonly as the citizens call them, VIPs, former Chief of Police Kathy Kemp created this program decades ago. And I know she's proud to see that our volunteers today have provided over 23,000 hours of volunteer service in 2017, supporting and freeing up our police functions for our officers. In the event of emergencies, we also rely on another group of volunteers, known as DART. Through City Council support, the DART program has served Thousand Oaks residents also for decades. And last year, the DART team of Thousand Oaks Police Department donated over 4,000 hours and participated in nearly every community event in the Valley. These 31 volunteers are trained to assist with urban searches and often called to assist with reuniting lost children and also those suffering from dementia separated from their families. Partnerships and collaboration, innovation, community involvement, and the commitment to the quality of life. To me, these are the pure definition of safe passage. This is the definition of what our community's idea is about, threading law enforcement and nonprofit organizations and other entities and government together. It's the innovation where public safety can use literacy for social change. In the vision of the City Council and the Recreation and Park District Board members starting in 2012, they had this vision to start a homework club. And the genesis has become what all of us know today as Safe Passage. It provides enrichment, literacy, and mentorship 6 days a week. What makes this program unique and different from any I've ever seen in my career in law enforcement? It is a full-time community organization collaboration with Canejo Recreation and Park District, the Police Department, both Moore Park College and Cal Lutheran University, Los Robles Hospital, the Discovery Science Center, the School District, and Art Trek. All of these organizations and more are providing resources, leadership, and financial support to invest in the future of our children in the community. Safe Passage builds long-lasting relationships with 124 underserved youth, showing them that instead of being at risk, they are at promise. In closing, if I could have a minute or two, I'd love to have Assistant Sheriff Ayub, if you'd be willing to come up and say a few accolades. You're my boss, so I'd love to invite you up here.
Good evening, Sheriff, or almost Sheriff-elect.
Good evening, Mayor Fox, members of the council, city staff, members of the public. Thanks for this opportunity. We really appreciate showcasing and highlighting some of the good work that your police department is doing in our community. As Chief Hagel mentioned, I worked in this community a number of times over the years, and I really grew to love it. Spent a lot of time in this room before many of you, and I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be back and in a position to serve this community as the future sheriff of the county. It's quite exciting. And Chief Hagel mentioned something. That this is, consistently one of the safest communities in the state, and really even in the country. We look at those numbers as well. And it doesn't slow us down in any way. We don't think that, wow, we've got it made, we're out front. It's really safe here. There's nothing going on. We can focus our resources elsewhere. We're still employing creative strategies. We're excited, even though there's challenge after challenge after challenge that we have to overcome to keep our community safe. And I can tell you that public safety in this community is our top priority, and it will continue to be in the years to come. So I'm very excited for that opportunity. We have great staff. We have excellent people coming up within the organization to take leadership roles, and they feel similarly as I do and the rest of us that public safety is of paramount importance, and we're going to do everything we can to keep it that way. So thank you for this opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, and congratulations on the new endeavor.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Assistant Sheriff. And now, with your permission, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Speicherman for the fire report.
Good evening, Mayor.
Just to make it clearer, would you? I know there's a few questions. Maybe we'll do public safety or police questions first, and then go in to fire after that, if that's okay.
All right, Mr. Price.
Thank you. Otherwise I wouldn't remember my question by the time Chief Speicherman were to speak. So, thank you very much, Tim, for the report there. It's actually very heartening to see that a lot of these crime figures are down. Given what we see on social media and the 24-hour news cycle that exists now, it's difficult in law enforcement to combat the perception that crime is running rampant, and that is something that we see on social media on an almost daily basis. These numbers certainly belie that, with the exception of commercial burglaries. What are we doing to address specifically commercial burglaries?
Yeah, so commercial burglaries are interesting. The vast majority, again, is organized crews that are coming out of the Los Angeles area. So what we are doing is we're identifying areas that they are targeting very specific types of businesses. And Senior Deputy Damian Alvarez in our intelligence unit is meeting with those business owners, and we're doing what we call target hardening, design hardening as we go into their businesses. Not leaving cash registers right where everybody can view it. Lighting, environmental. Number two is a shift of resources in the hours. I'm not going to give up all the exact strategies, but shifting resources during the important hours where we know businesses are closed and they're hitting in the early hours. So it's a real broadband scope. Also, people think of police departments as your police officers are driving around on your local streets right here. But our direct enforcement officers and our special enforcement officers are working with the agencies deep down into Los Angeles daily. We have officers that are down there heading this off at the source in Los Angeles.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I also recognize that giving away some of the trade secrets is not a good idea, having been involved in the business for a while myself. In terms of going forward, just throwing it out there, this kind of update is very helpful, particularly in this season, and I'm not talking about October, but these facts and figures are very good for those who might be running for school board and want to tout the benefits of the living in the city of Thousand Oaks. That was a joke, kind of, but so I appreciate it, and I hope that we can get future updates as well.
Thank you.
Maybe not even on an annual basis, but a semi-annual, quarterly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Ms. Bill De La Pena.
Thank you. I have a question that just occurred to me because this evening, as I was leaving, my neighbor was who is a VIP, was asking when he can venture into the Oak Park area. Have we started to see a VIP program in the Oak Park area yet?
Ms. Noonan, you want me to take that one? Yes. So we right now, we are working with the County of Ventura, with the County Office of Legal Counsel and Ms. Noonan's office, and we are extremely close to having ironed out an agreement to provide volunteer services in the area of Oak Park. And so the answer is yes, we will be. We're working on that, and we have everybody on both sides of the table working feverishly. I'm very optimistic about it.
Great. I thought, I was under the impression that it had already begun. So, okay, good. That's good news. I'll let him know then. Thanks.
Yep.
Mr. Adam.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to thank Chief Hagel for the great job he and his department are doing here in the city of Thousand Oaks. I'm particularly impressed with the volunteers that we get. I mean, I think you said how many? 150, something like that?
That's right, sir, but you have to say that because you have one in your house.
I do. That's actually, yeah.
We do. Over 150 volunteers between the 4 different groups.
Whether it's VIP or the DART program, and I particularly want to thank you for the Safe Passages program. Tim came and made a presentation of Ventura Council of Governments, which I happen to sit on, and as he mentions, the program intercedes with kids between the ages of 5 and 12 to keep them away from gangs. And Tim actually showed a promotional video that gang members have put together to try to recruit kids to, these nefarious gangs. And so Tim's working to make sure that that doesn't happen. And Ventura Council of Governments funded a study that Cal Lutheran's doing. Tell us a little bit about that and how you hope to expand this program throughout the county.
Thank you. Yes, one of the interesting portions of the partnership, Cal Lutheran University not only provides us interns that actually work in the 2 youth centers every single week, they're offering research assistance funded by the Ventura County Organization of Governments. And this is a long-term study where we're actually following the children from kindergarten all the way to the graduation of high school, and at the same time, so getting metrics, also following calls for service and crime rates within their micro-communities. And one of the more esoterical ones is actually interviewing their families and finding out what's going on year after year as their children are participating in the program. So early on, it's looking good. Dr. Molly George and her staff there are dedicated. And the ultimate goal is, instead of just having an anecdotal program where it feels good, you're providing service for children, we want to put statistics and metrics by that and make it so that you could replicate this in any community a la carte.
Yeah, that's the exciting part, because we're certainly not the only city that has a gang problem. So thank you for that. It's so important to get to these kids early, show them that we care, and show them that there's a lifestyle that's rewarding. And
thank you.
Got a lot to thank you for that.
Mr. McCoy.
Chief, I just wanted to commend you being on the commission with Councilmember Bill de la Pena for the Ad Hoc Homeless Commission. I've been so impressed with what your department does with the homeless and the focus there. And the insights that you've given to the two of us have been priceless, and we're so grateful. I also want to commend you on the Safe Passage, the Christmas program, the things you all do. And I was just going to ask you, are you still going to do Coffee with the Chiefs?
Yes, we are.
That's
I think
great.
we have one coming up in early November, so I'll make sure we get that out.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
You bet.
And Mr. Price.
Sorry, I meant to ask this earlier, but in response, the response times, that's certainly an indicator of how well we're doing at reducing crime. But what's the goal? I mean, I see that it's gone down, close to a minute or 3/4 of a minute in the past couple of years. Is there a goal?
Yeah, so what we're looking for is, ultimately at the end of the day, right, we don't know where that's going to bottom out. We don't have the crystal ball. So we're trying to just continue that trend and keep going in the same kind of increments each year. You're limited, obviously, by getting innovative. We use technology this year. Another thing that we're using is overlap cars during peak periods, especially when we have higher volumes. People are driving to work in the morning, those type of things. So currently what we're doing right now is just continuing to stepladder it down. We don't know the ultimate bottom. We only obviously have so many limited resources there. But, at the end of the day, another half minute or minute is a difference in somebody's life, and that's ultimately what we're heading for.
Thank you.
A couple questions, Chief. First, going back to your slide on the look at crimes by category, you mentioned it a little bit, but we're going to take the opportunity to maybe do a little public education here tonight. Can you differentiate between commercial burglaries and residential in terms of time of day? Any trends that you see?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Fox. I appreciate that question, actually. So I guess let's begin first with residential burglaries. Residential burglaries historically in 2016 and 17, we were getting hit with early morning daytime burglaries in the periods of 11 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon while people were at work. And people started, our education program was clearly responsible for a vast majority of instructing the citizens of what times and looking out for each other through our social media campaign. We hardened that up, and every time you take a step, then the organized crews change, right? They change their patterns. So at that one, after that, they changed their patterns to using public access areas for checking out homes, kind of as everybody ever hears or watches television, casing a home, watching the habits of the people. So we responded to that one. And we kept pinching them forward. They shifted gears from that because of so much participation by the citizens, and also, frankly, citizens using technology. Ring cameras and all of these home cameras, Argos, there's 4 main ones that are out there. These cameras help us extensively in stopping crime and also responding and identifying. So that technology helped us. Well, you know, humans take the path of least resistance. And so once we put the pressure on these residential burglaries, they switched into the same organized crews, switched into organized retail theft, hitting daytime our large businesses and stealing in groups. And they also switched gears to the burglaries of our commercial businesses. These are mostly retail businesses along our corridors, the main corridors of Moore Park Road, Westlake Village, or Westlake Boulevard and Thousand Oaks. And one of the things that we've really pushed out is asking our citizens through social media, as we switch to our commercial burglary emphasis, don't give up on all of the skill sets that you've mastered for preventing crime in these neighborhoods. Keep that pressure up that you're doing, helping each other out on neighborhoods, watching out, calling us. If you call us, we're coming. We want you to call the police department when you have suspicious circumstances. As we go over the horizon here dealing with the commercial burglaries, we have a lot of commuters that go to work at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. You see a suspicious vehicle moving up and down through a retail area, no business, give us a call. We want the phone call, and that's how we stop it. We can't do it alone.
The other question, we're fast approaching the holidays in terms of residential with people with holiday gifts, Christmas gifts, and so on. Any public kind of service message you want to send folks with respect to an increase of valuable presence that may otherwise not be in the home?
Yes, thank you. You know, I guess the subtext for that is package thefts. As people do shopping and have articles delivered on their front porch, you know, we ask a few things. Anytime you have a neighbor, someone that you trust, and you can actually have the package delivered to them, a lot of people don't realize with any kind of online shopping you do, you don't have to have it sent to where the credit card bill is. And so if you have, you know, the next door neighbor that's home every day and you trust, have it sent to them. These same organized groups, they leverage the holiday period, they watch for the delivery vehicles, and they go up and they snatch it right off the porch. So we ask people, use your neighbors. Not only does it stop the crime, but it makes a new friend next door.
And then finally, I just want to echo the comments of my colleagues. All of us over the last several years nationally have seen some very difficult times for law enforcement, and in some cases, some very bad outcomes in terms of shootings and protests and a variety of things. We're not immune from that out here in Thousand Oaks. Maybe we're not Los Angeles with respect to the large protests. But each and every day, these sheriff deputies, not only do they put themselves in harm's way, but they deal with very, very difficult situations in terms of domestic violence, conflict, mental health, just a variety of things. And having been here a number of years, this is going to be my last public safety update. I really could count on one hand the complaints that council receives because of the conduct of one of our sheriff deputies or one of our police officers. And to serve as a police officer, I don't care where you serve, downtown Los Angeles, Ventura County, Camarillo, Thousand Oaks, you're tested every day. And so just want to thank you on behalf of all the folks that work for you for the professionalism they bring to work every day. Because again, and I know everybody knows this on the council, the number of complaints we get versus the calls for service is essentially it's smaller than a fraction. It's really almost unheard of. And so I think the public needs to know that. And it's a distinction from other law enforcement agencies where they have difficulties. And I attribute it to the great leadership that we have, the great training that we have, and the commitment to service that all of our deputies have. So thank you on behalf of all of us here in Thousand Oaks.
Well, thank you, Mayor Fox, and I'll be sure to pass that along to the women and men that serve the community.
Appreciate that. Mr. Powers.
Appreciate Chief Hagel, and I'll hand it over now to Chief Speicherman.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Like Sheriff Hagel said, I'm very proud to be serving in the Thousand Oaks area. I did not grow up here like he did, but early in my career, I started working over on the ladder truck over at Station 30 by the Oaks Mall. As I promoted, I worked through the Canejo Valley at Station 31 and out to Oak Park, which does still serve in the Canejo Valley. Then as I got promoted to battalion chief, I came back for a short period until I was transferred over into training. But every time, and then now that I've been promoted to division chief and I'm serving as a Thousand Oaks chief, I am now back, and I couldn't be prouder to be serving the citizens of Thousand Oaks. But what I really want to do is I want to thank the staff for the welcoming me to come into this. Chief Smith served 8 proud years as the division chief and the city of Thousand Oaks chief, and I came in as the new person. And I have been met with nothing but graciousness, and I could definitely feel that I was definitely brought into this team. There was not once that I ever felt as an outsider, so I just want to make sure that I thank the staff for that. So thank you very much for making me feel part of that team. So we've already recognized my boss, Chief Lorenzen, who's sitting in the crowd, so I'll just go ahead and get right into the presentation. So how we're serving the community. Well, the fire district was established back in 1928, and we serve the unincorporated areas as well as 7 cities in Ventura County, which our most recent city annexed into the district was Santa Paula. We receive funding through property tax, and all the resources that are available that the fire district has are available to every city that we serve. So some of those resources are our hazmat unit, our USAR, which is our urban search and rescue unit, swiftwater rescue, any of our flood mitigation resources, and one of the resources probably used over in the city of Thousand Oaks the most is our wildland unit, which consists of multiple helicopters, 2 Type 1 flight crews, as well as we have 5 dozers, but only 3 dozer operators, and then a multitude of other heavy equipment that can be used. Right now, currently, we have 33 fire stations. 8 of those are in the Canejo Valley, and our personnel for the entire fire department is staffed at 655 personnel. This slide shows the 8 fire stations that are located in the Canejo Valley. And we have 33 fire stations, so we have 8 of them in the Canejo Valley. So that's about 25% of our fire stations are located here. So this is the staffing. There's 1 division chief, 3 battalion chiefs, 27 captains, 27 engineers, 24 firefighters, 12 paramedics, and 2 fire prevention officers. For me, this is a key number right here for this 12 paramedics. That's 33% of the firefighters that serve in the Canejo Valley are able to provide the highest level of medical services to the citizens that we can possibly provide. So as the fire chief of Thousand Oaks, I'm really proud that we have this many paramedics in the Canejo Valley. So over the last couple of years, we've had an increase in calls of 7%. To meet the rise in the call volume, we are adding an additional engine. An engine company, during the times when volumes are at their peak, that engine will go into place on December the 8th. It will be stationed at Station 30. We'll have 3 personnel staffed on it. And even though it's stationed at Station 30, it will be moved around the city where that demand is placed. Along with that additional engine, we've also added an additional support company at Station 31 located in Westlake. And just a little bit of explanation of what a support company is. A support company is the firefighters you normally see up on the roof of a fire. I don't know if anybody saw the news last night. Orange County had a fire, and they had the guys that were up on the roofs had a pretty close call. So it's a dangerous job, but our support companies are the ones you normally see up on the roof, ventilating so that the firefighters on the ground with hose lines can get in and extinguish the fire. They also carry the vehicle extrication tools, which normally most of us know that as the jaws of life. They also carry different type of airbags and different type of extrication rams that can stabilize vehicles or homes to make the environment safe for firefighters as we're operating in those dangerous areas. Our other support company operates our aerial ladder truck. That's the large apparatus you see with the white ladder on top, and that is stationed at Station 35. So that is the one additional piece for that support company, is they're able to reach higher rise buildings. So here's a breakdown of our the calls. As you can see, the green line is medical calls. So you can see that the chart, most of the calls that we respond to are medical calls, and they make up about 73% of our overall calls. That is why our paramedic program is so important, to provide the highest level of medical service that we can. But looking at this chart, I want to make sure that we all know that even though that 73% of our calls are medical calls, we end up spending 56% of our personnel hours on fires, and we spend about 32% of our personnel hours on these medical calls. So here are our average response times. This slide shows the average response time from when the 911 dispatcher picks up the call to when the first arriving resource shows up on scene. Over the last 2 years, there has been a very small rise in the response times due to performance strategies implemented by the fire district. Our dispatch center has implemented measures to expedite times from the time that they pick up the call to the time that they dispatch it. The firefighters at the station have performance measures on what we call their turnout times. That's the time that the call comes into the station to the time that they're in the apparatus with wheels rolling. So once we hit the street, it's not our right to drive unsafely and run red lights. It's a privilege, and it's something that we ask for when we get to that red light. So what we've done to expedite those response times and make it safer for ourselves, like Chief Hagel was talking earlier, we're partnering with the city and sharing a cost for traffic control devices, which how they operate is in the rigs, it's automatic. We push a button, and then it sets off the lights so that we will get a green light, stopping the citizens at a red light, which makes it safer for us as we enter into those intersections. And then it increases our response times. That doesn't mean we get to speed any faster. We still have to make sure we clear every intersection, even if it is a green light. most of the locations for those devices are down Teal Boulevard, Hillcrest, and Moore Park Road. And we're always working with Public Works to figure out where the next best place will be for those. So the Ventura County Fire Department is a standalone special district, and we receive our funding from property tax. Total appropriations are just over $180 million. And you can see from the chart, 82% of our funding goes to operations. Operations means those are the firefighters that are at the station responding to emergencies, protecting our citizens. So some of our current affairs and community services. Actually, the picture that's on the slide right now is one of our, we sponsored 2 Ride to Work bicycle rides, and this one just tried to highlight also the bike repair stations that we've put up in the Canejo Valley in the areas that most bicycle riders ride. So it's an area where you can change flats, you can get air for your bike tires, it has tools, and you can also refill your water bottle so nobody's getting dehydrated out there while they're out riding their bikes. So currently in the news, it's one of the big things for us. The district has purchased 3 Sikorsky Black Hawk helicopters. 2 of them are going to be converted into fighting capable Firehawks. The 3rd one has been delivered already to the Camarillo Airport, where the pilots are right now practicing, getting their hours, so once those Firehawks do go into service, they're certified to fly them. But the 3rd Firehawk was purchased for parts, but it is a fully capable helicopter right now, and we're utilizing it for training. So I think we're getting the best use of that resource right now. So once we get the Firehawks, we should be ready to go. And the estimated time to get them in service is the summer of 2019. And a couple things about them. The current helicopters that we have right now they drop about 350 gallons of water. The Firehawk will be able to drop 1,000 gallons of water. We also, with the helicopters and the hand crews as part of our wildland unit, we will fly a Type 1 flight crew. That's their main mission. Right now we can fly 8 fire control workers, our hand crew members, depending on their weight and how much stuff they're carrying. With the Black Hawk, we'll be able to carry at least 11. So our goal is to make sure we get 95% of our fires, we maintain them to 10 acres or less. This 1,000 gallons of water, along with a few extra additional hand crew members, I am guaranteed, because I used to run our crews, is going to help us catch some of those fires. So and help us meet our goals. Also, the 3 helicopters that we bought were less than 1 brand new Black Hawk. So we got a pretty good deal. And this is the color rendering of what it will look like when it's complete. So here's a note of some of the improvements in infrastructure. So I'll just cover a couple of them. One of our proudest of our new addition is our new state-of-the-art fire station 35 off of Mitchell in Newbury Park. It replaced the old Station 35 that was at the intersection of Lawrence and Hillcrest. And then also housed at the fire station is a fairly new command vehicle. It's one of the vehicles that we use when we go on large incidents. So we can put the command staff in there so they can focus and get out of the noise and everything else so we can better serve our people. And it was used almost the whole time on the Thomas incident. And we've had it out a couple of times this year, but so far we've met all of our goals in the Canejo Valley for brush fire, so we haven't had to pull it out. So the Arbolus Fire Station, this is Fire Station 34. It is slated to be relocated. It was built in 1961, and it's about 55 years old. We consider this what's called a back-in fire station, and what that means is the fire apparatus has to back into the station. So I don't know if anybody's ever seen the fire engine pull up to back into that fire station, but it ends up taking up all of those kind of westbound lanes on Arbolus. 2 personnel have to get out, 1 to watch the sidewalk and 1 to watch traffic, and then they have to back into that station. So the new location is a 2-acre lot adjacent to the Cal Lutheran property. and it'll eliminate some of those safety hazards that we've been dealing with for many years. Homeless, just like the sheriff, we're addressing homeless issues for the fire department. We're definitely responding to more calls. So what we did is we added to our national incident fire reporting system a few drop-down boxes so that we can start tracking when we go to possible homeless incidents for medical calls or possible homeless encampments when we end up going on some of the brush fires and nuisance fires in the community. We just started that last month, so the numbers we'll have the numbers for any quarterly report or annual report from this day forward. Fire Station 33, of course, the exploring the possibility of relocating Station 33. There was 9 potential sites that have been identified and analyzed, and currently staff are analyzing the potential acquisition of the best site. Here's a list of some of the key community resources that we provide or we're active in. And I would just like to draw attention to the CERT program, the Citizens Emergency Response Team. I'm in charge of that for the Canejo Valley and the whole department. And I know they just started a new class a couple weeks ago. I make sure that I go to every one of their opening days that I can, as long as I'm not on an emergency, because for me, the volunteers, the citizens that enter into those classes are going to be key for us when we have a large large disaster. We only have so many emergency resources, and these people who are stepping up to volunteer are going to be key in their neighborhoods to keeping their neighbors safe. And I just want to make sure when they sign up for these classes that somebody's there to say thanks and that we appreciate what they're doing and what they're doing in our communities. Right now, we have over 640 plus, citizens that we've trained. The Fire Hazard Reduction Program is, one of our proudest programs. It's definitely, saved homes and saved lives and saved firefighters' lives. In the area of Thousand Oaks, we send out about 3,400 notices. So the district had only had to clean 2 lots this year. So looking at the survey that the citizens, what they've asked for, and that's, public safety and fire protection, only having to clean 2 lots shows to me that the citizens are committed to what they're asking us for. If they're willing to go out and clean their lots, 3,400 lots cleaned, and we only have to go clean 2 of them, then what they're asking for, they're willing to put up their own also. So that just shows a real good commitment from the citizens. Ready, Set, Go program. It was key in the being developed here in Ventura County. It was first developed as a way to educate citizens during a wildland fire, but since then it's evolved to where we're trying to make sure the citizens are prepared for anything. We want to prepared for wildland firefighting, earthquakes, floods, power outages, whatever faces the citizens. We want to make sure that they have that education and that ability to be prepared to take care of themselves just in case one of these things happen. And that is it. I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity for me to be able to present this. And if you have any questions.
Ms. Bildo de Pena.
Would you like to make any comments?
Okay.
You almost missed me. Almost. That's good. Mayor Fox, members of the council, Mr. Powers. For the record, Mark Lorenzen, County Fire Chief. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be your city fire department. We're very proud to protect the community of Thousand Oaks. And it's interesting as I sit in the audience here and get a kind of a year in review. For me, it's also remarkable. And just my comments and kudos to the council here. As I always chat with my internal staff, I talk about being dissatisfied with the status quo. And it's very evident that you are also. And that's such a good and powerful thing that we don't accept just what is. We're always looking to make improvements. And I think the last couple of years is evidence that we are dissatisfied in your city and always looking for ways to make things better, and we will continue to do that. And then secondly, I just wanted to thank you, and I hope you guys all actually take a moment and have a sense of pride in your city fire department. And when we look at what happened in the Thomas Fire, it started on December 4th, it was, for a short while, 6 months, the largest fire in California state history, and your city fire department really extended. When we talk about neighbor helping neighbor, I just want to make sure you realize that it was your city fire department that reached out and helped so significantly in the cities of Santa Paula and Ventura and all along that whole 126 corridor there. And it was so incredibly impactful. It's the same thing that happens. It's the power of a regional service here. It's the power of what we do with the mutual aid service. And you should take great pride in your city firefighters that actually made such a tremendous difference in that Thomas Fire in the early stages and then in the longer term stages. So with that, I just would like to thank you for the opportunity to get up here and speak. And like I said, super proud to serve the city of Thousand Oaks. Thank you.
Chief? Yes. Before you go, I'm just going to piggyback on this is going to be my last meeting for this public safety update. And I would be remiss if I didn't kind of fire chief to fire chief, make one last plea that before you leave, we get the Fire Station 33, Westlake Fire Station, over the goal line. I know there's been some great strides on that. And going back to Chief Roper, for me, this has been a very long endeavor, and I recognize the complexities of it, but I think all of us recognize, firefighter and otherwise, that a station on that side of Westlake would provide really superior service to the entire Westlake area. And I just got to one more time ask for the best you can, a commitment to get that done and over the goal line. And I know the staff here is going to do all they can to assist you with that.
For sure. And yes, from one fire chief to another, yes, I know you understand the complexities, and it's incredibly high on my radar and Chief Speicherman's, and we will be doing everything we can to accomplish that task.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I'll save the tough questions for Chief Speicherman.
Perfect. Thank you.
Questions for Chief Speicherman, Mr. Adam.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chief Speicherman, and your department for your service. It's not every career that part of the job description is risking your life. It doesn't happen that often, but we want to thank you for the courage that your men and women have. My question is that, there's been a lot of, Chief Lorenzen mentioned the Thomas Fire, and we've had some pretty horrific fires here in Ventura County and California for that matter. And there's been a lot of talk that the new normal for the state is that fire season is year-round instead of the way it used to be. How does the department cope with this potential new reality?
Well, I think what we do is when the weather lines up, we end up staffing up and preparing for that. So we're all, like you say, we're all going to classes. We're all learning what the new norm is. We're looking at what's affecting other agencies, the fires that are happening up north or that happen down south, and we try to prepare ourselves, for those to the best of our ability. And when we're looking at weather, like right now, tomorrow is supposed to be like the first lineup for a Santa Ana event. It's not going to be really that strong, but all of our personnel are prepared and ready and understand that this is now our season. So. And then we also, watch where we're sending our resources. We know that the threat is still here, and we make sure that we keep what we need to make sure we protect the citizens.
And maybe if I just add to that, Chief, because every year I'm a recipient of some complaints or concerns and issues from citizens that take a little offense to having to complete brush clearance. They end up doing it, however, begrudgingly, but I think it's important to note and for everyone to remind there is a connection, and it's a proven connection between defensible space and saving homes during wildfire. Maybe you can speak to that briefly.
Yeah, absolutely. When the east wind blows, it kind of changes everything. Like with the Thomas incident. But there was fuel treatments that we were doing in the city of Ventura, especially when I was working for our wildland unit. And then you can see, even though when the Thomas Fire blew through there, you can see the difference, where the different impact on the homes as well as the different impact on that fuel model. Because what we end up doing is we go in there and change the fuel models from brush. It could be changed to grass. And then sometimes those fires are easier for us to catch. So, yeah, definitely have a defensible space. It protects the citizens' homes. It protects the citizens. It gives them time to escape. Even with that east wind fire, it gives that little buffer of embers, and it makes it a safer environment for firefighters to work in.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Price.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm not sure what they called it, but the one off the 405 freeway, Sepulveda Fire, Bel Air Fire, whatever it was named. That was determined to have been started by a homeless encampment. And you mentioned your work in the open space and categorizing or identifying locations where they are living in the open space. Is that something that you're doing in conjunction with the Sheriff's Department and their Vulnerable Populations Officer? Or is that separate and apart from what they're doing?
Me and Tim have had some discussions about it, so we don't have any, I don't think, any organized connection yet. I think for us, we started noticing that gap, and we were responding to what we felt was more homeless calls. So for us, that's what we wanted to start tracking. We know when we respond to some of the things, and that's why we noted it as possible homeless encampments, because there's usually nobody there, but it's, we can look at it and go, this looks like a homeless encampment. And so as we track those, then we'll start adjusting and trying to figure out. But definitely we've been talking about, trying to figure out where we can go with it.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a benefit to working together and sharing information in that regard. So
yeah,
I think Councilmember Price, one of the important points is having this new system with fire where they're keeping tabs of when they're in the homeless camps. It's another proven fact showing the connectivity between the fire department and police department. For example, they might get a call for a trash can on fire. Now that may sound real trivial to someone else, just a trash can on fire, and we're out at a domestic violence call or something. We're not going to be sent to a trash can fire necessarily. And it's that connectivity that the fire department is doing with us and with our other partners. We both, Chief Speicherman and myself, would be remiss without mentioning COSCA and the Canejo Park Rangers. They're working side by side every week with our staff in these camps, and they're the real experts on the locations.
Thank you both, and I just want to thank you as well for the update here. It is helpful, informative, and look forward to getting them more often. Thank you.
Ms. Bill De La Pena.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. First, when you go to the breakdown of local calls by type chart, there is a little brown spot, number 182. What does that represent, the brown chart, the brown graph?
I believe that's hazardous materials calls. Let me go back and I can look at it. I think we talked about that when we were making the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. I missed that one.
Yeah.
So that's hazmat. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the increase in medical calls. Well, yeah. Is that due to, what is that primarily due to? Is it, everybody says Thousand Oaks is aging and our senior population is increasing. I'm just wondering whether that is related to that.
It definitely, it could be. Right now, I would have to go back and I'd really look and pull some information for you, but I can do that for you and find out if that's, there's definitely, I can go, we've responded to a lot of different care facilities and things like that, but then we run a lot of medical calls and, single family residences, but I can get that information and come back and give it to you.
And the public service calls, are those, what can you name an example for that?
Yeah, it could be anything from a water leak, it could be a broken pipe in somebody's house. Snakes is one of our, most prevalent public service calls. Any type of animal call that somebody needs us to assist them with.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, and that device you were talking about that changes the traffic lights?
Mm-hmm.
I think Councilmember Adam would love one of those.
Yeah.
Speaking of snake calls, I was walking precincts 1 campaign, and I forget where I was, but a lady had a snake in her garage. So you guys owe me one. I took care of it for you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Couple questions. First, I wanted to congratulate you and Chief, just so you know, what an improvement from Chief Smith. I hope he's watching tonight. Perfect. Thank you.
I hope he's watching on TV.
Just getting the data on the response times. I think that's the first time that we've actually seen that in a report. I know you guys know it, but we've actually been able to see it in a report because data is important, and it's some of my questions are actually going to lean towards that. Ms. Bill Pena's question about medical calls, it may be helpful for folks to know that that's not new. Fire departments everywhere, the majority of our calls are medical. Chief Speicherman, knows that, and like I said, the calls for service are going up, but it really doesn't matter what community. If you have a fire-based EMS system, which we do, in part, we go to a lot of medical calls. On that note, your slide for average fire response times. Do you have a slide, or you don't, but does that include medical calls, or is that just for fire calls?
That was all calls.
Okay. Something I think might be helpful, because those are very good response times. It would be interesting to see what the difference is between a medical call, where the firefighters don't have to put all their turnouts on and all their protective stuff. They're just basically leaving the station. They're responding with AMR, versus a fire call. And both from a professional standpoint, you may surprise us that we're actually taking longer to get out of quarters on a medical call than a fire call. It's a cultural issue, but it's something to look at, right. Definitely. From a public service standpoint, we actually want to get out of quarters fast for everything, but for a heart attack or a medical call, that critical 4 minutes without breathing, 8 minutes for ALS intervention is important. And now that we're measuring the response times, that data will be helpful, particularly as call loads go up, which leads me to my second question is, I note that we're building some new fire stations. Are we building the stations to accommodate multiple apparatus in the event that, and I have every reason to believe the call load's going to continue to go up. Not a lot of vacant property in Thousand Oaks. It's very expensive to build a fire station. If we're going to build them, maybe build them to be able to absorb an extra support vehicle or even another apparatus. Any thought on that?
Yeah, from what I know is we are building the fire stations to last 50 years, and they're being built to be able to house an aerial ladder truck. So at least 2 bays and at least that size for any type of growth.
Good. And then just to pick up on the homeless in terms of tracking that, I am certain that as we struggle to deal with the homeless issue, the calls for service are going to go up related to the homeless. And as Chief Hagel pointed out, I'm sure we can go to a medical call for someone, and the Sheriff's Department isn't going to know about that.
Yeah.
So, again, those are good data indicators to see additional resources if needed. And I don't know if the finance director's here because they're always concerned when you talk about additional resources. That was Mr. Adams, so we don't have to worry about that. But now that we're tracking this data, that's the type of information we need for future councils to, in the budget process, actually look at, okay, we have, hypothetically, we've had a 15% increase over the last, 10 years in calls for service. But we have the same number of firefighters, same number of apparatus, same thing for police officers. Council needs to see that. And then that long-term budgeting, that long-term planning, in part, it's not the only thing, but in part, that's why we are so safe, is we provide a pretty high level of professional public safety personnel to serve our community. But that won't always be the case if the calls for service are going up.
Yeah.
So, and then finally, you heard the boss, Fire Station 33 is really important. So don't screw it up on your end.
You got it.
All right. And then one last thing, and just like for the police department, we have, and I just want to tell the folks in Thousand Oaks how fortunate we are. to have the Ventura County Fire District providing service for us. There's a lot of firefighters that work for other organizations, both LA County and LA City, but live here in Thousand Oaks. Those folks are protecting our families every day. And I can tell you from personal experience, having trained with these firefighters and the command staff, having responded to fires with these folks, we are very fortunate to have one of the best fire departments, fire districts in the country serving us right here in Thousand Oaks. And they do put their lives on the line every day. And we're fortunate to have such great public safety professionals, both in the Sheriff's Department and the Fire Department. So pass that on to your crew if you could, all of them. We're very proud of them. They do a great job.
I will. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Powers.
Just one quick closing note, and thanks to both of the chiefs this evening for being part of this. One of the things, and sometimes members of the public don't even know this, and that's a good thing in my opinion, but we have 3 members of our executive team that are actually not city employees, and both Chief Hagel as a member of our contracted police force, Chief Speicherman that is our assigned police chief of the Canejo Valley, but in a standalone special district, and Jim Friedel, who's the general manager of the Canejo Recreation and Park District. It's a sort of a tribute to the collaboration and sort of the spirit across the board that we're able to work effectively together, even though there's dotted lines and different reporting relationships all therein. It requires mutual trust and real collaboration and spirit to do that. So I just want to say thanks for being here this evening and providing the report to us, and for your continued leadership.
All right. So if there's no further questions on that item, that'll be received and filed with no objection. We'll move to item 9B. That's the Public Safety Power Shutoff Program from Southern California Edison. And Mr. Spurgeon, you're going to handle that report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a moment to reset here. And good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is a briefing on the Public Safety Power Shutoff Program, as it is known. With us tonight is Rudy Gonzalez from Southern California Edison. I'll be turning over to Rudy in a moment. He'll brief you on that program. It is something that Edison has been developing. And with me on the dais tonight is Graham Watts, our Emergency Services Manager, as well as Liz Perez, who's our Facilities Manager. It's been quite a few years here relative to wildfires in California as well as Ventura County. We all know that. These have had incredible impacts on public services, on private property, and of course also the tragic loss of life. In response to this, Southern California Edison, with the approval of the Public Utilities Commission, has implemented a public safety and grid resiliency program that includes the ability to shut off power in one or more circuits in its territory that may have equipment or power lines that pose a danger to starting a fire, including in the city of Thousand Oaks, as you'll see. Now, since June this past year, when Edison came and briefed us on this initially, staff, we've been working tirelessly with them and our other partners and staff to better understand how and when this program would be implemented and how to develop contingencies to support our critical infrastructure and facilities throughout the city. And this includes providing Edison with such a list of critical facilities and where they are. Hopefully that prioritizes keeping those facilities operational. So this has the potential for incredible impact to our community, as you'll see and as we'll discuss going forward. After Rudy does his briefing, I will provide a little more detail, a little overview of some of the facilities in the city itself and how we're working on preparing for this eventuality. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Rudy and let him do his briefing.
Ms. Bildo-Pena has a question for staff before Mr. Gonzalez does his presentation.
For Mr. Spurgeon, real quick. So you're saying that Thousand Oaks is in the Tier 3 extreme area?
I'm sorry, you were...
Oh, is that for you then?
I'm
Attachment
sorry.
number 1.
Your question?
For the city of Thousand Oaks, we're in the Tier 3 extreme area?
That is correct, and we'll show that in more
thank
detail going forward.
Mr. Gonzalez, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Fox, council members, Mr. Powers. I'm Rudy Gonzalez. I'm the government relations manager for Edison out of our Thousand Oaks office, which is located right down the street. Thanks for the opportunity to share with you this evening information on Edison's wildfire mitigation, safety, and grid resiliency. This is a topic that's been covered extensively in the news, particularly since last year's outbreak of fires in both Northern and Southern California. I'll be providing information this evening on Edison's wildfire mitigation measures, how we monitor weather conditions that may lead to high fire risk, and the process to implement our public safety power shutoff plan. So the California Public Utilities Commission has designated approximately 1/3 of Edison's service territory as high fire risk area, and that's depicted on the map. It's on the screen. As you can see, 8 of the 20 most destructive fires in our state's history have occurred since 2015. There's no longer a fire season. This is a threat that we must learn to live with year-round. So there's agreement that California needs to take comprehensive steps to strengthen its ability to prevent and suppress wildfires. Through a variety of measures, which I will cover in detail, Edison has taken significant steps to reduce the risk of wildfires within our 50,000 square mile service territory. These include existing operational practices that minimize the possibility our facilities are involved in a wildfire event, investing in the system hardening of our electrical grid, enhancing our operational awareness capabilities, and enhancing our operational practices to ensure we are doing all we can to minimize the threat of wildfires caused by Edison facilities. During red flag warnings, we limit our circuit automation and certain work we conduct to protect against energizing a line that could create a fire danger. While this may increase the length of time an area is out of service, it is a safer way to operate our system during a wind event. There are several ways in which we're able to make our equipment more fire resistant. They include replacing existing wood poles with either fire-resistant composite material or lightweight steel poles. Since 2013, we have replaced nearly 40,000 poles system-wide. And in order to ensure our poles meet all safety requirements, we closely inspect over 200,000 poles per year. We've also installed current limiting fuses that operate more quickly when a fault is detected in our lines. Perhaps our most significant effort in the next few years will be the installation of covered conductor in the most high fire risk areas of our service territory. This covered conductor will reduce the possibility of flying branches or palm fronds landing on our lines and causing an arc or spark that could cause a fire. Because many of our facilities are in close proximity to trees in both urban and forest areas, Edison dedicates significant resources towards ensuring there's adequate clearance between our lines and vegetation near our lines. We have over 20 certified arborists on staff and many pruning contractors to complete this important work. We inspect nearly 1 million trees annually and trim nearly 700,000 trees per year. We've identified 400,000 trees in high fire risk areas, and we conduct patrols jointly with multiple fire agencies. Having real-time local weather information is an important part of our decision-making when deciding to de-energize circuits. To help provide more local, timely information, Edison is in the process of installing 125 weather stations before year-end throughout our entire service territory. These weather stations, along with other targeted weather data we are procuring, give us the ability to have localized, real-time information. We'll continue to install additional weather stations throughout our service territory, and we expect to be able to install up to 850 weather stations in the next 2 years. Our meteorologists monitor conditions around the clock 365 days a year. Information from the weather stations will be accessible to our public safety officials, which we've already shared. Our meteorologists issue a running 7-day threat level matrix every day. These matrices measure threats of fire weather, wind, and heat ranging from no threat to major threat for the next 7-day period. We've installed our first high-definition fire camera on Santiago Peak in Orange County. This is in partnership with UC San Diego, which has a similar partnership with San Diego Gas and Electric. These cameras allow fire departments to see fires when they start so that they can make informed decisions on deploying resources. Fire officials will have the ability to control the cameras. Edison continues to work with University of California, San Diego, and local fire agencies to determine optimal locations for new HD fire cameras. Our plan is to have up to 160 cameras in place between now and 2020 that will provide visual coverage of 90% of our high fire risk area. And this photo you see on the screen here is a photo taken from the Santiago Peak Canyon shortly after the Holy Fire started. I'm going to skip a little bit because the slides are out of sequence. Go. Even with all the mitigation measures in place, extreme weather conditions may result in the need for Edison to proactively curtail power to certain parts of our service territory. We refer to this as public safety power shutoff. In our operational toolkit, this is our last resort. We can do all those other things I just mentioned to the best of our abilities, but extreme weather may require us to do more. Because extended power outages create additional risks for essential services and have significant impacts on utility customers, our hope is to use this tool sparingly. However, in light of increasing fire risk, Edison is evaluating the more frequent use of this measure during extreme conditions. In considering whether to de-energize a line, Edison considers a wide variety of factors which may include, but are not limited to, the following. First would be a National Weather Service issued red flag warning in an area identified as high fire risk area. And I'll let you know that we've had 47 red flag warnings throughout our service territory since the beginning of the year, and we have yet to implement the public safety power shutoff. So just because there's a red flag warning doesn't necessarily mean it's going to lead to a public safety power shutoff. It's just one of the factors that we consider. We also consider ongoing assessments from our in-house meteorologists regarding the local conditions related to wind speed, humidity, and temperature. We also consider real-time situational awareness information from highly trained personnel positioned locally in high fire risk areas, identified as at risk for extreme weather conditions. These are our in-house trouble technicians who are very familiar with the local service area and have intelligence as to where the problematic areas could occur. We also take into account input from our fire management experts co-located with the Office of Emergency Management regarding any ongoing firefighting efforts. Specific concerns from local and state fire authorities regarding the potential consequences of wildfires in select locations. awareness of mandatory or voluntary evacuation orders in place, the expected impact of de-energizing circuits on essential services such as water pumps, traffic controls, etc., and other operational considerations to minimize potential wildfire ignitions. Edison will make every effort to notify local governments and customers ahead of time, especially our critical care and medical baseline customers, to help them prepare for potential de-energization. When a safety shutoff takes place, customers will see a loss of power similar to other types of outages. As conditions improve and safety checks have been performed in the field, Edison will begin to restore power depending on local conditions at the time. The order in which circuits are re-energized will depend on many factors such as safety conditions, equipment inspections, repair time, customer well-being, and essential services. We pride ourselves on service reliability, and de-energizing our customers is not something we take lightly. Thus, we will only take this step if we feel that our system and our communities are safer de-energized and it is absolutely necessary for public safety. The ultimate decision regarding public safety power shutoff implementation lies with Edison's incident commander, a vice president or director level position located in our Emergency Operations Center in Irwindale. Anytime a PSPS is being considered, Edison will stand up its incident management team, and we will be in regular communication with county EOCs to provide periodic updates. These are some of the factors taken into consideration when deciding whether or not to implement public safety power shutoff. Included are wind speed and direction, humidity levels, temperature, among other factors. In addition to weather station data, we will consider information received from our trained field personnel who have many years' experience and are very familiar with local wind patterns that may lead to a public safety power shutoff. Information received from public safety agencies may also impact decisions on implementing a public safety power shutoff. In regards to the timeline related to implementing our plan, I first want to let you know that every resident or business who is subject to a public safety power shutoff at their home or business has received a Dear Neighbor letter informing them of such. It also encourages them to call Edison or go online and provide us their most updated contact information so that in the event we call for one of these measures, we have the ability to notify them proactively. So we monitor weather conditions 4 to 7 days out, as I mentioned. Our meteorologists are tracking weather 4 to 7 days out. If 3 days out from a potential weather event that could lead to public safety power shutoff, we will notify our local public safety agencies. The first notification to customers will go out 48 hours in advance of our intended public safety power shutoff. The second notification will go out 24 hours in advance. So this is not going to come as a surprise to anyone. People will know that we're tracking and we're making these notifications. We've developed a special protocol for making contact with critical care medical baseline customers. For these customers, we'll attempt to make contact by phone, and if we're unsuccessful in reaching them by phone, we'll send out staff to make personal contact to inform them of a pending power shutoff. The final notification, as I mentioned, will take place just prior to our implementing the public safety power shutoff. And then following a PSPS event, a notification of power restoration will be sent out. Based on historical weather data, we expect to implement the public safety power shutoff 2 to 10 times per year throughout our entire service territory. And we serve 50,000 square miles. The duration of the PSPS will depend on duration of extreme weather event and the time it takes to conduct safety checks of our equipment. Our patrol personnel will ensure our equipment is in good working condition prior to bringing power back up. We've conducted community meetings throughout our service territory when it was determined that we may implement this plan. We've had 19 to date throughout our service territory, including one in Camarillo to serve the West Ventura County area, and then we have one tomorrow evening at Moore Park City Hall complex to provide information to East County residents. And I think I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jay. That concludes my comments, and we'll take questions at the end of the presentation.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if that's okay, I'll just go through a few more slides, and then we can open up for questions. So this is the City of Thousand Oaks boundary overlaid on the high fire risk areas. There are several tiers, and as asked earlier, there's an extreme fire threat tier 3, and you can see that that's the pink area, which covers the majority of Thousand Oaks, and then there's a small portion out in Dos Vientos, which is the tier 2 elevated fire threat. The gray areas are 24 of 41 separate circuits that serve electrical circuits that serve the City of Thousand Oaks from 3 different substations. You can see that essentially, again, a large portion of the city is subject to this PSPS program. One of the things that has me especially concerned as your public works director is continuing to provide water to our residents. This shows all of the water facilities for all 3 purveyors, us, CalAm, as well as Cal Water. There's almost 100 different facilities, turnouts, pump stations, tanks, and whatnot. Power outage, an extended power outage that affects a large portion of these is obviously a real concern. And so we've been working closely with our neighboring water purveyors, but I can speak on behalf of our water service area that even under a worst case scenario, which would be essentially power outage for multiple days to all of our facilities with continued demand levels, that we are able to, with our existing system on-site generation, portable trailer-mounted generators, and with that advance warning, filling up all the tanks before the power goes out, that we can manage through a 2 or 3 day shutdown. To make sure that we have redundancy for that, we are planning to rent an additional trailer-mounted generator just to get us through this season, and then kind of reevaluate as we go forward. Somebody mentioned earlier that traffic signals are obviously powered. The majority of our traffic signals would be in affected circuits or potentially affected circuits. We do have battery backups at every one of these. There's 134 of them out there. Those will last 8 or 10 hours, depending on whether we can switch them over to 4-way flash or let them maintain full operation. But a power outage extending beyond that, we would obviously need to respond with, and we can stage smaller generators at key intersections that we have already started prioritizing and continue to run those. We can also switch out batteries. We can also potentially turn off the signals during the day, light hours, and then put them in red flash at night to help extend those batteries. But again, depending on the magnitude of the power outage throughout the city, this would be a significant impact. Medical care facilities are kind of spread throughout the entire city. There's
at least 80 of them out there, including the Los Robles Hospital. Of course, that facility has on-site backup power generation. They are required to do so. A few of these of the others do as well, but the majority do not. And these include all the surgical centers we have, the urgent cares, assisted livings, convalescent cares. And then there's the myriad beyond this map of individual home residents who have in-home medical care that requires power to continue operating. So again, this is a pretty critical list and map of facilities that would be affected with extended power shutoff. We have Red Cross shelters designated throughout the city, as shown here. There's almost 20 of them. None of these sites, none of these locations, which are the community centers and whatnot, have standby power. Should a large portion of the city be out of power, there are some facilities that could continue to operate as care and shelter facilities, cooling centers during hot weather events that are shown here, kind of in green. You know, just to sort of round this out, a few other of our services that we've thought about, we've done some planning on, would include, say, our transit program. Buses could continue to run throughout the city during an event like this, and we should be able to provide maybe not full dial-a-ride service, but some, depending again on phone systems. Which, speaking of which, communications obviously could be affected as well. There are major wireless cell towers that are along our ridge lines. Those sites typically have on-site power generators, and other wireless sites throughout the city have battery backup. Those won't last 2 or 3 days without power, but the Verizons and others would be out servicing those during such an event. Frontier has 2 big central offices. Those have power backup, so internet and landline phone system should continue to operate. Of course, then you have power out at your home, so your router and whatnot wouldn't be functioning, but certainly a wired-in landline would operate. And then radio communications, those repeaters up on the hills have standby power, so those would continue to operate both for police and fire as well as city services. Trash could be picked up. There's nothing stopping the trash vehicles from providing that service. So that's just kind of a quick overview, a glimpse of some of the things we've been considering and planning for. A lot of this has been in place because this is that major earthquake scenario that we've planned for and thought about for years and years. Although this is we'd actually have a more advanced warning of power going out in this case. Just this last slide is some information for our public. Of course, there's lots of good information on Edison's website, as well as the county emergency websites. ReadyVenturaCounty.org is a great location for information in terms of how to prepare. Obviously, preparing for an earthquake is very similar to preparing for a 3-day power outage in terms of having enough water, non-perishable food, medicines, and stuff like that. And there's good resources and planning tools on that website. So thank you, Council, for your attention, and we're happy to answer questions.
Questions for staff?
Or for Mr. Gonzalez.
Or Mr. Gonzalez. Yeah. Ms. Bilde La Pena.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Gonzalez.
Good evening.
I do have a couple of questions. I was wondering if the states that experience hurricanes, do they shut off power when they know that a storm is approaching?
I don't know the answer to that. We don't have hurricanes here other than the one I think that we had in the mid-'90s that caused Thousand Oaks Boulevard to poles to go down. I don't know the answer to that question. I can do some research and find out, though.
Okay. And I know Mr. Spurgeon mentioned that an earthquake is, we are planning, or we should be prepared for earthquake emergencies, but the difference between earthquake and a potential fire is that we will know when the Santa Ana winds are coming, and earthquakes happen every, who knows, few years or so, but this one is certainly going to happen more often per year. So how is SCE weighing the cost of not providing power to a city, the population of Thousand Oaks, 130,000, versus keeping the power on and taking the risk of wildfires? I mean, when you turn off the power for 3 days, it can kill people. So where do you draw the line at people's lives, human lives? Is it a certain number where you make the decision that you can take that risk, losing human lives, when you don't have power for 3 days?
So our primary goal, and if we have to implement this plan, is to save lives and property. And we'll be in constant communication with our local county EOC and taking information from them. If there is a situation where we can safely re-energize an area that we've cut power to because there is a life in jeopardy, we will work with our local public safety agencies and do everything we can to re-energize those lines. But if we energize and exacerbate a problem, we have to factor that consideration in as well. We understand that what we're planning is going to create unknown, situations that none of us want to have to deal with. But again, our primary goal is to save lives and property, but we will be in constant communication with local public safety agencies to assess and determine if we can safely re-energize areas if a life is in jeopardy. So we're not going to turn the power off and just leave. We're going to be here the entire time.
Well, it may be inevitable though to have some casualties. That's just what happens also with hurricanes in other states when you have these nursing homes and people die. So is there a cost analysis that SCE has done? What is it costlier to keep the energy on versus turning it off? So
again, we implement this plan, we provide notification, and the hope is that folks will take that notification, use the information that we're providing to them, and relocate, if at all possible, those that might be in a health condition where they require medical equipment to survive. Again, it's not one or the other. It's what we feel we need to do in order to protect lives and property. But we will do everything we can to take into consideration the outfall, as a result of taking power offline, and we'll re-energize the areas where we can do so safely. But we're probably not going to re-energize an area if it's going to add fire or add add to the situation at hand.
What is the cost of undergrounding your utilities?
Undergrounding, is the city well knows, is extremely expensive. So again, part of what we're doing in order to try to minimize the possibility of our facilities causing a fire, we're installing covered conductor in the highest risk areas. So we're hardening our system. We're doing everything we can to minimize the possibility that our lines will be the cause of a fire.
Okay, by taking this step, and I don't mean to be rude, but SCE and the board members of SCE and the decision makers must have determined that it is less risky to cut off power than it is to leave the power on, because as you said, wildfires are a year-round event. It's not an earthquake. An earthquake, we don't know when it happens, doesn't happen all that often, a major earthquake, that is.
Right.
So we're talking about interrupting lives on a regular basis. So, have the decision makers at SCE made the decision or determined that it is really more cost effective to turn the power off?
I don't think it's a matter of cost we're looking at. We're looking at saving lives and property. It's not a cost issue from our perspective.
Then how much is it to underground power lines in these high-risk areas, the Tier 3 areas?
It would be, again, very expensive. I mean, we have a 50,000 square mile service territory. Approximately 1/3 of it is considered to be in high fire risk areas. So, I mean, the cost would be huge.
And you have to weigh that against human lives. I can't see it any other way. I think the cities which are going to be going through this, having power turned off, it's going to be catastrophic.
Well, again, I'll just stress that based on our historical, weather lookup, we expect to implement this plan 2 to 10 times per year throughout our entire 50,000 square mile service territory. So, I mean, the hope is that we never have to implement it. But the intent, again, is to save lives and properties and to get folks to understand that they need to be personally prepared for being without electricity for a period of time if we have to implement it, in the same manner that they would be without electricity if we had a major earthquake.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. And, I understand this is a very difficult decision to have to be making. I get that. But as you pointed out, in the event of a major earthquake, we could have power down for a similar period of time. I think being prepared is the answer here. And I want to make sure that SCE is prepared as well.
Sure.
Have you undertaken any efforts to identify those in the community that rely on electrical power for life-sustaining devices?
Yeah, they're all coded in our circuitry. So we know when we go out and we do a planned maintenance outage, we know that we're going to impact folks that are on medical baseline equipment that require electricity to survive. So they're all coded. So that was part of what I was mentioning earlier, the going above and beyond to communicate to those folks that they could be without power if we're not able to reach them. For those that are on medical baseline or have medical equipment, we will go to their door and let them know that there's a possibility they may be without power, so they can make arrangements to relocate or bring in some backup battery power for their medical equipment.
Okay. Has there been any effort to perhaps offer grants or anything that would supply those people with generation or generators that they could use during that?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Yeah. You spoke about the hospital. Clearly, the hospital has a backup generator.
Right.
There are a lot of other medical facilities that don't. There are also a lot of businesses, say, for instance, gas stations that rely on electricity to power their pumps. And my concern is that, and Mr. Spurgeon is talking about getting generators to power our traffic signals at the busiest intersections. And I'm just wondering where the fuel for those will come from. And we can't have an endless supply of that on hand. So it would have to come from service stations. There are also businesses in the community that have refrigeration that they rely on. And I know that in your report you reached out to a number of the larger businesses here.
Right.
What did they say about your plan, and what were their concerns?
So no one's thrilled about it.
Yeah.
I'm not thrilled about it.
Sure.
But, again, our role is to let our large customers and every resident, every business that could be impacted by this, let them know that there's the potential that they could be without electricity. So we've implemented this a couple of times in the past year. I think it was in December of last year in the city of Idlewild. We implemented it twice, and the power was out for about 34 to 36 hours, so about a day and a half. Our hope is that, if we have to implement this, if we take a full circuit out, and the circuits would be interrupted at the substation. So there's 3 substations that primarily serve the Thousand Oaks area, one located in Newbury Park on Lawrence Drive, one located on Wilbur Road, just by the Dayland Swim Center, and then the other one is right by my office, which is on Potrero, the Potrero substation located on Townsgate. Those three substations feed most of Thousand Oaks. So we would cut power off at the substation in the event we had to implement this plan. But then we do an assessment to determine, okay, do we really need to have the entire circuit out, or can we go out and operate a midpoint switch and just have half the circuit out? So let me give you an example. The circuit that feeds Thousand Oaks City Hall is the same circuit that goes over the hill and feeds Lake Sherwood and Hidden Canyon. So, it's two very distinct areas. So in the event that we had to cut power to City Hall, we would very likely go to the mid-range point switch that feeds the Lake Sherwood Hidden Valley area. We would keep that de-energized, but then we would re-energize the Thousand Oaks City Hall complex because it's a much lower risk area. So those are the kinds of assessments that we do if we have to implement this plan. We will we'll be conducting assessments ongoing, working with our public safety agencies and consulting with them and doing everything we can to bring power back up as quickly as possible, as safely as possible to the general area.
So, and I'm glad to hear that you're able to fine-tune it a little bit there, but in the situation that you just described, wouldn't it be prudent not to ever turn the city hall off and just make that switch at the connection and shut off Sherwood and the other areas that are high fire danger?
So the problem with that is that if we have to shut the power down, it's being done automatically. I mean, through a grid system operator, and that primary switch is located at the substation. So we would operate that switch first, and then we would look at determining if we can bring power back up to part of the circuit in a safe manner. And so we would go and open a switch located midpoint that serves a more rural area and re-energize this area.
And how long would that process take?
The process of actually de-energizing and re-energizing doesn't take very long. The part, once we implement the plan and we're looking at re-energizing an area, the problem is, we need to have eyes on the facilities that are in those areas to make sure that there aren't branches hanging on the lines or any other foreign object that could cause a problem if we were to re-energize those lines. The last thing we want to do is re-energize and have a tree or some other foreign object making contact with the lines, and we start a fire there. Right. So we have to patrol and make sure that the lines are safe to re-energize. That's a factor that determines how long the power is going to be out.
So Mr. Spurgeon also talked about our water tanks that we have that we would immediately, once notified that this PS was going to go into effect or potentially go into effect, that we would fill the tanks so that we would have water to be used. In the event of a fire, I'm concerned that the fire department wouldn't have the ability to get water onto a fire.
So we would work with a public safety agency, and if we needed to re-energize a portion of the circuitry in order to enable the fire department to fight the fire, we would do everything we can to re-energize that as quickly as possible.
And I guess that's really my question, and maybe we won't know the answer until it actually happens, but how soon can that happen? I mean, can it happen in a matter of 30 minutes, or is it going to take hours?
It's hard to say. It's not going to be hours. I mean, we're going to have field personnel dispersed throughout the area. I mean, I think it would be very unlikely for the entire city of Thousand Oaks to be impacted by a PSPS in a single event. I think we're probably talking about 2 or 3 circuits at a time. I think it's very unlikely that we would have the entire community impacted by the plan.
I recognize that. I think that when people hear about this, they imagine the worst.
Sure.
And that the whole city would be dark. So it's concerning. And in your outreach, and I'm assuming that there was outreach. I know that you're having public meetings now,
right?
But during the early stages of the planning on how this is going to be implemented, was there outreach to chambers of commerce and business communities that were able to at least be prepared for what was ahead?
So I made a presentation to the Chamber of Commerce Legislative Committee last month, and I'm willing to talk to anyone and everyone who's willing to listen. You know, again, the last thing we want to do is to find people who aren't aware and who get caught off guard. So that's why we sent out the letter to every single resident. And I can tell you that, you know, when somebody receives an envelope from Edison, the likelihood of them reading it is fairly low. So, again, that's why we follow up with the community meetings and we send a postcard to give them another opportunity to learn about the program and the potential impacts on them.
Yeah, I think the only thing people are glued to nowadays is social media. Perhaps that might be a medium,
I agree.
medium for you to get the word out. But, you know, it is incumbent upon all of us to be prepared. And I'd been saying for years and years and years that I needed a generator. And I don't know whether it was subliminally your letter that I got in the mail or the fact that I wanted to watch television while I was at the beach caused me to go out and get a generator. So I guess at least a portion of my household will be energized. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. Hey, Rudy, the report says that you're looking at 2 to 10 of these power shutoffs system-wide in a year. Any projection of what we might be looking at here in the city of Thousand Oaks?
I mean, unless you can predict, you know, the weather several months out, it's really, really difficult to assess. And again, you know, we may be tracking towards plan implementation, and we could provide that 48-hour notice. We could provide that 24-hour notice, and then we decide that the conditions have changed to the point where we don't have to implement it. So this is going to be something that, you know, we monitor very closely. And again, this is our tool of last resort. This is something we really don't want to do, but if it means saving lives and property, we will do it.
And it also said that we have 41 circuits, 24 high risk. I take it by your remarks, you're not talking about shutting all 24 circuits down.
No, again, as I mentioned, it's very unlikely that I think, you know, every circuit that could be impacted in Thousand Oaks is going to be impacted at the same time.
I mean, the real fire danger is at the urban wildlands interface.
That's correct. Yes.
That's kind of the outlying areas of Thousand Oaks. So what's that, maybe 3 or 4 circuits?
Well, I mean, the way our circuits are configured, you know, the circuits, like as I mentioned, circuits could serve the downtown area as well as a more rural area. So it really depends on how those circuits are configured. But we will do everything we can to minimize, you know, the need to do this. And as I mentioned, we'll do assessments if we do have to implement it. We'll do assessments to get power back up to those critical facilities as quickly as possible if we can do so safely.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned you've done one of these in Idlewood.
So the utilities have had the authority to implement these plans for years. San Diego Gas and Electric has utilized it much more frequently than we have. I think they've used it 10 times over the past 7-8 years. They have some particularly, you know, rural areas that they have to be concerned about. So they've implemented it many more times than we have. The couple times that we did it, again, was in Idlewild, where the winds were just very, very strong at that time. And, you know, the power was out for about a day and a half each instance. Mm-hmm. Those are the only 2 times in history that we've implemented the plan.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you'll use discretion. I just would hate to see half the city go dark.
Right.
And with this, well, better safe than sorry kind of thing. I mean, you got to really look at what we're doing here.
We're not going to be quick to pull the trigger. Again, we're going to be taking a lot of input from public safety agencies and, you know, the meteorologists. So, again, this is something that we don't want. This goes against our very nature of keeping the lights on. So we will do everything we can to keep from having to implement it. But if we do have to implement it, you'll have all the information about what our intentions are.
Thank you, Rudy.
Sure.
Mr. McCoy.
Quick question in relation to how the liability transfers to us as a city. And you said you had this authority to begin with, but you're here tonight presenting to us. What's occurred with the PUC and yourselves that all of a sudden this is something that you have to be concerned with? Is it the liability that you faced as a result of the fires that we're now being held liable for all this?
So currently the way the law is written, or before SB, I think it was 901 or 928. I can't remember which one it was. 901? No, it wasn't 109. This was something that passed recently. Utilities were held strictly liable if our facilities were involved in any wildfire. Let's say, just for discussion's sake, that we've got a 80-foot eucalyptus that's 40 feet away from our lines. Plenty of clearance per the CPUC, mandates for vegetation management. But that tree goes down, falls into our lines. We're strictly liable for the costs associated with anything related to that fire. So it's, again, our primary goal is to save lives and property. If you look at what happened in Northern California this past year, PG&E has been deemed to be responsible for several of those fires, and they're on the hook for quite a bit of money. Our goal is, and they lost lives and they lost property up there. Our goal is to save lives and save property, and at the same time minimize our liability.
So you minimize your liability, but it rests with us.
Again, we plan for this, we educate as best we can, we provide notification, and we do everything we can to keep from having to do this, but this is a tool that we have to have in our tool belt to deal with the wildfires.
Okay.
Ms. Villa-Pena, do you have more questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention it was SB 901, and that's the one that didn't pass, obviously, because SCE and PG&E requested that they not be held liable, and that didn't happen.
No,
so
it actually did pass.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, the governor signed
sorry.
it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then I have the wrong information. All right. So, but as was mentioned, that the liability is being shifted to the individual municipalities or communities. And, I mean, we can ask every resident to buy a backup generator. Not sure how many can afford it. Maybe in the city of Thousand Oaks, many will be able to afford it, but there will be those who simply can't. It was mentioned perhaps if a grant could be offered to purchase a generator or for the residents to purchase a generator. I just, while we may not see the entire city go dark on any given day, I feel that this is a pretty bold step by a utility company. And I know you are only the messenger, so it's a pretty bold step to take. I'm just really surprised that SCE is willing to do this. Playing hardball, I don't know how else to describe it, but this is difficult. But I wanted to ask, with the law enforcement that we have here this evening, the sheriff-elect as well as our fire chief, if I could pose a question to them as to how they would feel, whether any of the cities in Ventura County are prepared to deal with this, and how would the first responders handle this? Who would like to go first?
Good evening again. For the record, Bill Ayub, Sheriff-elect Ventura County. Obviously, we aren't thrilled at the idea of having our power shut off, especially during times of crisis. We're all dependent on electricity, for pumping fuel, refrigerating our food and groceries, and maintaining medical equipment that we find in a lot of homes that people rely on, for health benefits. And we also have a criminal component that comes with power outages, but that's certainly of lesser importance than the preservation of life, and that's our top priority. So for us, primarily we're concerned with communication, the ability to relay a message in the event that foul weather or circumstances change. We need to notify people to get out of their homes or to take some sort of preparatory action to preserve their lives. We feel that power outages certainly impact our ability to do that. We do send police cars door to door to augment our means of communicating with the public, but Certainly, in our last disaster, our Thomas Fire event, we had real good success with delivering messages electronically to the public. And we feel that if the power is out and circumstances change to the point where we need to issue evacuation orders, we may be limited in that regard. Mr. Gonzalez has talked about the collaborative efforts with our Office of Emergency Services. That is true. We've been in close contact, and we've collaborated on different issues associated with this. Each side recognizes that there are concerns in place, and we of course hope that if and when Edison decides to exercise this power, it's done very judiciously. And so we of course aren't in favor of it, but we will take every step that we can to mitigate the challenges associated with that if and when it does occur in our community.
You did, during emergency operations, have communication with the utilities, obviously, because you did have power. But once that power is gone, even people with cell phones, what if your battery runs out? You cannot be reached, not even via social media. Thank you for weighing in. Thank you.
You're right.
Chief?
Thank you.
I don't know, did you want to comment on this? It seems to me that fire district
I'll
similar concerns.
I'll be relatively brief, but I've been at least somewhat public in my opposition to this. I think the consequences are greater than the advantages with shutting it off, and we have Rudy and SCE has certainly reached out to us. It's been more informational rather than input. It's something obviously that was decided at the state level. And we share the similar concerns with the sheriff about communications. Obviously, there's water issues and lots of things related to EMS and care and devices. We obviously have concerns. And the one thing I will say is that the challenge with shutting off the power, and I was heartened at least to know initially that Edison will be judicious with this. It's not just on any red flag day. It's when they will ground truth it, so it's not going to be as frequent as our red flag warnings are here. But what will happen is something will be implemented without an actual event that will actually potentially cause harm. And that's what's probably the most concerning thing, is we just don't know what the consequences are. So, and then the other thing, obviously, Rudy has said that there will be some consultation with the first responders. I can't imagine that there's anybody on my staff or Sheriff-elect Ayub's staff that will say, yes, please shut off the power. We are going to try and do everything to ensure our community is prepared. That's our jobs. We are at these community fairs with Edison trying to make sure our community is prepared for what Edison is going to do. And, beyond that, we'll just have to see. But, yes, obviously our preference, if we had a vote, would be to not shut off the power. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah.
Did you have any further questions? All right. Mr. Adams? Mr. Adams? No?
Just one quick thing for clarity. It's SB 901. I said 109.
Right.
And the governor did sign it just recently in the last couple of weeks. And it came about through the Pacific Gas and Electric liability with the Tubbs fire. Could have forced them into bankruptcy. And the idea is to keep utilities out of bankruptcy by judging how much liability they can absorb, and anything beyond that would force them into bankruptcy, they can bill their consumers, whether it's through rate increases in a monthly bill or a bond issue, whatever it takes to to afford that. So the question is the balance between the welfare of the citizens versus the liability of the utility. And so certainly we're hoping you'll come down on the welfare of the citizens when you consider these power shutdowns.
We believe we're taking the welfare of the citizens into account if we have to implement this plan.
I know you do. Thanks, Rudy.
Thank you. Mr. Price.
Thank you. Last shot here at you, Mr. Gonzalez, and that is simply that I'm not going to question the motives here. I believe that your leadership believes that this will potentially save lives. I suppose that is a subject of debate. However, what I do know is that if and when it does happen, that calls are going to come into the city of Thousand Oaks, and they're going to come into the sheriff's department and the fire department, And I want to know that the utility, SCE, will have 24-hour numbers, that they will have operators on standby, people that will answer the questions that our residents will undoubtedly ask. So can you address that?
Yeah, so if we have to implement this plan, our incident management team will be stood up, and they'll be based in Irwindale. At the same time, those of us out in the local areas, including myself, would report to the Ventura County EOC. So there's going to be a direct line of communication between our leadership who make the decision and those of us out in the field communicating to our local public safety agencies. So we'll be available round the clock. Our phone center is open round the clock. There'll be plenty of opportunity for folks to make contact with us.
And having been involved in public safety and having been around for a large-scale earthquake that caused devastation and phones being out, my question is, are you going to have boots on the ground here in the city of Thousand Oaks that can go to residences and assist in those sorts of things?
Yeah, it's going to be all hands on deck if we have to implement this. I mean, there's going to be folks that are going to be doing work outside their normal scope of work. So we'll utilize whatever job classifications we need to make sure that folks in the community are as safe as possible. So again, if that means going door to door, we'll do that.
Thank you.
So I've just kind of sat here patiently and listened to just the variety of things. I think the flavor here is there's more than a high level of concern. And I'll make a statement here. I do question what exactly is going on here. It sounds to me like a very dramatic, extreme risk management proposal, to be very blunt. I don't think this is about saving lives and property. It could, but the people that get paid to do that, they're saying that's not a good thing to do. The public safety folks who get paid to protect life and property, and they do it for a living, and they're executive managers, they're suggesting that this is going to cause more problems than it could potentially solve. So, and I'm in that camp. So, I'm going to be candid. I see this as a risk management decision that may be partly based in politics to try to see if things can get leverage in Sacramento to change some laws to make it a little bit less of a liability, which I recognize. It is a big deal. I'm not trying to minimize that. I think there's more questions here that are unanswered. And Rudy, I've known you a long time. You got a tough job. I hope they give you a pay raise for coming in and trying to, in a professional way, kind of lay this out. Obviously, that wasn't your decision. One of the things that you said was the decision maker is a high level person.
Right.
Where I have my problem is the fire chief or the sheriff comes in and says, "Hey, we need this power on now. This is causing us major problems." My experience is the communication between public safety is at times challenging, but usually everybody's there 24 hours. Mm-hmm. My experience with the non-sworn folks, it's a bit of a difficulty. Not everybody's, they're not keyed up to answering their cell phone and that type of thing. And the question I have is what's the response if you get a call from a fire chief or a sheriff or a police chief that says, "Hey, you guys shut the power off. We need it on now. This isn't a debate. We need the power on because you're causing us problems.
Right.
We can't pump water. We can't put the fire out. We can't communicate for whatever reason." Right. How does that work?
So, again, we stand up our incident management team. We have a whole team of folks that will be operating out of our emergency operations center in Irwindale. I'll be the link to the local community. If there's an absolute need to get power back up to a certain area, we're going to have folks out and about already, and the ability to re-energize shouldn't take that long. I can't say it's going to be 10 minutes. I can't say it's going to be 30 minutes, but we will address those types of requests, those urgent requests, immediately. And again, we'll have access to our senior leadership that will be the people that make those decisions.
Does Edison plan on having a representative in every EOC?
We typically do. If it's a widespread event, we typically do, yes.
All right, because basically what you're talking about here is a widespread wind event.
Right.
And my experience is when the wind's blowing in October or November, it's blowing everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's not localized.
So we've got folks assigned to the various county EOCs. I mean, we may not be at the city EOC, but we'll be at the county EOC. That's what I'm referring to.
Meaning you, or
probably me if it's Ventura County? Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, I see I see a delay because the county EOC, in terms of we're having an issue here in Thousand Oaks, which leads me to another question. The way you explained the three major circuits, maybe I didn't get this right, but it sounds to me like if there's a decision to shut it down, the main circuit is shut down, which then shuts down let's call it the secondary. But then if you find that the main doesn't need to be shut down, just the secondary, you circle back and you re-energize the main circuit and the secondary is shut down. Did I get that right?
No. So we have substations that house anywhere from 6 to 10 circuits. Each circuit will serve anywhere from 500 upwards to 3,000 or 3,500 customers, depending upon the type of businesses or customers that are on that circuit. If it's over in the Amgen area, the number of customers served off a circuit is going to be a lot smaller than if it's in the middle of a neighborhood. So the circuit would be disconnected at the substation. And I'll just use Thousand Oaks substation for an example. Thousand Oaks substation located at Wilbur Road, just east of Moore Park Road. The circuit would be de-energized at the substation. It feeds about 500 to up to 3,500 customers. One circuit. So we wouldn't necessarily cut power to every circuit served out of that substation, only the ones that are at greatest risk.
So in that particular area, that's not exactly in the urban interface.
No, and not all those circuits may be impacted.
Okay.
Yeah.
But for example, the sheriff's station is in the urban interface.
Yeah.
So I can foresee that there would be a reason, and I know they have generators, but I just, again, to me, candidly, it appears to be a fairly extreme risk management decision that you're kind of going to go with the consequences. And in fairness, you've only done it once, so you have very little experience to draw on the unintended consequences of doing this in a populated area.
Right.
And I got to tell you, I just think it's, if you should move down this road and decisions made, I think there's going to be some very unintended consequences. The fact of getting to people that rely on electricity for, as you say, that was the baseline medical
baseline customers, right?
There's a lot of those folks out there. And they, 48 hours notice for every they might have missed it. So what you're telling me today is somebody from Edison is going to knock on their door, each and every one.
Yeah, there aren't as many of those customers that are dependent upon medical equipment for their survival. There aren't as many as you think, and we have the staff to be able to send out individuals, again, outside their normal job classification, to make that personal contact and to let them know that there's a possibility they may be without power.
Okay. Maybe so. We may have some that you aren't aware of.
And we'd love to hear from them. We'd love to know. I mean, we want to be able to code them on our circuitry. Right. So that's part of the reason that we're encouraging folks to make contact with us. Let us know if you're in that situation. Provide us your updated contact information. I will share all of the concerns that have been expressed tonight with our leadership. So.
Is there some kind of hotline or some kind of phone number that in the event that there's a shutdown that people could call and say, hey, you guys missed me. We have some severe hardship here?
They can call our regular 800 number. It's 800-655-4555. I don't know that there's a dedicated line for when we may have to implement this plan. I'll find out, and I'll share that with city staff if we do have one.
The other thing is, Ms. Billa DePena, I think, asked an excellent question. These areas where there's hurricanes, which are predictable, what has the power companies done in those areas as they shut down the power? Because essentially it's the same thing.
Yeah, again, I don't know if they do so proactively or not. I'll find out, though.
I think that'd be, again, you're just the messenger. Sure. But see, these are fundamental questions that you would think you would have the answer for, because there's been some studies and there would be some information. This is what they did, in the Carolinas, or they didn't do it, and the reason they didn't do it was for these reasons. Although for hurricane, it's usually associated with rain, wind, that type of thing. Right. It's quite a bit different than a red flag type situation. So you're expecting that if this would happen, between 2 and 10 times a year,
system-wide.
System-wide. All right.
I'm hoping never in Thousand Oaks.
Yeah, I think everybody agrees with you on that one. All right, any further questions? Mr. Adam, and then Ms. Bill LePage.
Yeah, just a quick one. Sorry to be grilling you here, Rudy, but would a Santa Ana wind event typically, well, of course you don't have quite the experience, but would a wind event like that trigger one of these power shutoffs?
So,
because we get those.
Yeah, if there's going to be Santa Anas, normally the red flag warning would be issued by the National Weather Service. But again, that's just one factor. Just the fact that we have Santa Anas doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to go down the PSPS path. It's just one factor.
Okay.
Ms. Bill de la Pena.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention regarding a hotline. If there is no power to power the hotline, whether it's a landline or not, it may be a moot point. But I'm just wondering whether there is a process in place, and perhaps I should have asked the city attorney this, in terms of appealing this decision. Is there something that the cities can do? Protesting the decision?
I haven't looked to see whether there's any type of legal rights that the city has to challenge the decision. I haven't looked at that. I'm happy to do so, though.
Mr. Adam? You buzzed in again. You have more questions? Okay. All right. Just again, for the record, both the fire and the police, fire chief, police chief, and sheriff and city council were not on board with this.
And I will share all that with our leadership.
Yeah. And, I'm sure we've sent them a strong memo to file, letter, but we can't talk about it tonight, but
sure.
For me, I think this is such a high level thing. I think the cities probably do need to take a look at what kind of action the city can take to protect themselves from this, or preclude you from doing it. I get why, but from my own view, I just agree with the chief. I think the potential consequences far outweigh the potential risk of a down, power line causing a brush fire.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's, again, a receive and file without objection. Yes, I do want to recognize, I don't have the troop number, but we have a Boy Scout with us tonight. That's part of his merit badge. Go ahead and stand up. What troop are you from? 730. What's your name? All right, let's give you guys a hand. Coming out. Outstanding. Okay, that concludes our department reports. Oh, Claudia.
I have a question, because it was a receive and file. Is there a motion that we need to make for the city attorney to come back with a recommendation? We don't. Okay, thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item 12. That's council issues and recommendations. Mr. Price, follow-up report from League of Cities.
Thank you very much. I did attend the League of California Cities annual conference down in Long Beach, September 12th through the 14th. A lot of very good sessions there, as there usually are. I'll just run down just a couple of them. There was one dealing with the impacts of Prop 64 and the legalization of marijuana. There's a good deal of discussion about the efforts to preclude cities or preempt cities from being able to disallow delivery into cities, and that was met with a lot of angst from council members from throughout the state. Had some good speakers there. A lot of discussion about local authority, local control, and I'll leave it at that. If you're interested in reading the rest, you may do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price. And Mr. Powers, City Manager follow-up items.
Thank you, Mayor Fox. Our next regularly scheduled City Council meeting will be held on Tuesday, the 23rd of October. We have a couple of special presentations, including the National Friends of the Libraries Week. A couple public hearings, one for a taxi cab ordinance update and one on water, wastewater fee adjustments. We have a department report from our homelessness ad hoc committee that Chief Hagel mentioned earlier. That's it for my report.
All right. So we have no closed session items on the agenda tonight. So we will adjourn to our regularly scheduled council meeting for October 23rd, 2018. Have a great week.